Unit 9, page 111, The Mystery of Louis XVII. As I told you at the start of this unit that we're going to read about different mysteries in history, and today we're going to travel back in time to the 18th century, and our journey today is in France. First, have you ever heard about the French Revolution? Do you know when it happened? Do you know why it happened? The French Revolution happened in 1789. It appeared as a result of injustice, poverty, since money and wealth were in the hands of the rich, while most of the French people were poor and hungry. But what is the relation between the French Revolution and our lesson? Have you ever heard about Marie Antoinette? Marie, the infamous queen, was the mother of Louis XVII. She was infamous or hated because she symbolized the privilege and power of the French monarchy. She wasted a lot of money on parties, clothes, horse races at a time of great debt and poverty within France. Now let's look at part 1 at the picture. What is this picture for, and where did it happen? This is a painting of Marie Antoinette's execution in Paris, France in 1793. The new revolutionary government had erected the guillotine, and the first notable to be executed was King Louis XVI, who was Marie's husband. Queen Mary was guillotined in front of cheering crowds, and the monarchy in France was not restored until 1814. The previously mentioned events are necessary for understanding our lesson today, which is page 111. The Mystery of Louis XVII. 1789 saw the start of the French Revolution and the start of a nightmare for a 4-year-old boy called Louis Charles. Louis Charles was the handsome son of Louis XVI, King of France, and of the infamous Marie Antoinette. Louis XVI and Marie Antoinette had very public execution, killed by the guillotine in January and October 1793. But what happened to little Louis Charles? When Louis XVI died, Louis Charles became the uncrowned king of France, Louis XVII. Up until that time, he had been imprisoned with his mother and sister, but on the 3rd of July 1793, guards came in the middle of the night to take him away. Louis Charles was now a dangerous person because officially he would become the new king. His captors were nervous. At first, Marie Antoinette did not let the guards take her little son, who cried and screamed to stay with her and his sister. But finally, the soldiers told her that they would kill both her and the boy if he did not come immediately. She had to let him go. Paragraph 2 emphasizes the fact that the French hated Marie, so the first thing they did after the revolution is that putting Marie and her kids in prison. Later on, they kidnapped Louis Charles because officially he would become the new king. Paragraph 3. In paragraph 3, Marie tried to protect her child from being kidnapped, but she was threatened, so she had to let him go. Louis Charles was taken to a small dark room in a tower of the temple prison. He must have suffered enormously in his new home. People said that the boy was continually hit, insulted, and tortured. He couldn't see his mother or sister. He shared his room with rats. He was always hungry, and he received almost no medical care. Paragraph 4 shows us that the young king, the child, was treated in a harsh way. He was also deprived from seeing his mom and sister. The official records say that Louis Charles died soon after from tuberculosis. The date was the 8th of June, 1795. He was just 10. A tradition of the time was to take the heart of the king and preserve it. A doctor who examined the body of Louis Charles was a monarchist. He secretly cut out the boy's heart and took it away. When he left the prison, he put it in alcohol and kept it in his house. In paragraph 5, the child died because of the bad conditions he lived in. He died as a result of tuberculosis, which is مرض السل, and a monarchist took the child's heart and preserved it in alcohol. Immediately after the boy's death, the rumors and speculation began. The royal child might have been murdered by his guards to stop him from becoming the king, Or he may have escaped. People loyal to the royal family could have helped him to get out of the prison, putting another boy in his place. This was the most popular rumor. In paragraph 6, we can understand the rumors that happened after the child's death. People were into two teams. A group said that the child might have been killed, and the other team said that the child may have escaped. When the monarchy was restored in France in 1814, suddenly hundreds of people said that they were Louis Charles. A surprising candidate was a German clockmaker called Nondorf. It seems amazing that this German man, who could hardly speak a word of French, might convince people that he was the son of the King of France. But he met servants who knew Louis Charles as an infant in the palace at Versailles. They were all 100% sure that Nondorf must be Louis Charles. This was because of some special marks on his face and because he knew details about life at the palace that nobody else could know. After some years, Nondorf changed his name to Louis Charles du Bourbon. His latest descendant still uses this aristocratic name. Might he be the true descendant of Louis XVII? Paragraph 7 shows us that after restoring the monarchy in 1814 in France, a lot of people claimed that they were Louis Charles, and the most famous one was Nondorf the German, who could convince people with his real personality. And who supported him were the servants who used to work in the castle, who said that they knew Louis Charles really well. After 200 years, a curious tradition held modern scientists to solve the mystery at last. Remember that a doctor took Louis Charles' heart when he died? The heart went from place to place for 200 years. It was stolen, given back, given as a present, and returned again. In 1999, it was in a church in Paris, safe in a crystal jar. To solve the mystery, they decided to do DNA tests on the heart. The tests proved that the heart must belong to a relative of Marie Antoinette. Doctors also agreed that the heart must have belonged to a boy of approximately 10 years of age. The terrible truth was that the boy who died ill, hungry, and alone in a dark room in the present tower was indeed Louis Charles, the lost king of France.